Hey, is this thing on? Lance, Nick, ready? Can you hear me? Welcome to the Live Free and Hunt podcast.
Sporting goods. First time been down to this spot, or actually this part of the state, really. Neil and Kevin did a good job putting on this Tethrd training, teaching train thing. We got some lunch, free giveaways, and we're just gonna do a podcast. Hopefully, a couple of other people pop in and out. But you want to introduce yourself?
My name's Mark Evans.
Go ahead.
And I'm Chris Chiocca.
And we were just kind of shooting the shit before when everything was going on. And I said, you shoot a big deer this year? Said, yeah, I did.
You guys want a beer?
I'll wait till I'm done.
So where do you guys grow up hunting?
I was born in Plymouth, New Hampshire, and basically I've lived my whole life in Wentworth, so I didn't travel far. I went to local schools, and I still work in Plymouth, so kind of a homebody.
Keep it to the community.
Yeah. Did you grow up hunting?
Oh, I did.
Yeah. Parents?
Yeah, my dad took me probably. I think I started when I was around 6, and carrying a single shot 16 gauge.
Sweet.
You know, I couldn't hit the inside of a box if I was standing in it. You know, but that kind of whet my appetite for it, and Dad kind of faded away from hunting, and I just continued a passion for it. A lot of my hunting was kind of self-taught or stuff that, I read about, and a lot of trial and error.
I feel you there.
I did have some other, friends that shared similar passions, so we always piggybacked off one another, and it's just become a lifelong thing. My son, he has a passion for it now. I'm glad I was able to share that with him.
Yeah.
And he's a pretty good hunter in his own right. I always told him I kind of had a golden horseshoe up his ass as a kid because he shot a lot of good deer. Before he was 18, he shot some really good ones, and I said they come pretty hard in central New Hampshire.
Right. Yeah.
And if you've hunted there much, you know that.
We've hunted. I mean, we've hunted all over the state, really. But the last couple years is, I don't know. I guess we switched things up a little bit and just listening to podcasts. And actually, the reason why we started a podcast is because I listen to podcasts, and if you're listening for, techniques or what people do, it was all in the Midwest, and we don't have the ag. People say they pattern deer, and this is bedding area, and this is this. Well, it's not like that where I live,
No, good luck with that here.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out a pattern.
Pattern of a deer, Like, this is a deer bedding area.
Yeah.
I get it. It's thick.
Right.
Yes, okay. This is a bedding area. But that's the deer around here. They'll just
I got tracks under an apple tree, so I know they ate here. But, it's... my grandfather used to... Some of the things he shared were, little adages, and over the years, you kind of take them for granted, but as you get older, you start... if you weed through some of the bullshit, you start to figure out some of the stuff he was telling you had some merit. And he used to say, deer will walk through knee-deep acorns to get to a beech nut. And I found over the years that if we have a good beech nut year, I have more success. And he used to hunt a 3-day cycle. He said if a buck come through an area on a Wednesday, you wanted to be there 3 days later. Because that's just his home range. That's what he always kind of preached. And really the first year I said, well, I know this deer came through here. I'm going to be there 3 days from now. And I ended up shooting that deer on that day.
No shit.
And I said, well, maybe there's something to it. So I started paying a little more attention to it. Now, as you know, especially around here, it doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
But if you can weigh that in your favor, if that's something you can, maybe up your percentages using.
Help you out, definitely.
I pay attention to it at least now, and I've had success a couple of times on that 3-day cycle with decent deer. So, there might be something to it. I think my grandfather had some luck with it, so.
I always wonder, like, you listen to people talk about moon phases and all this other shit. And I'm like, there's too much to it. I can't get on board with it. But like you said, like that's the first time I heard about beech nuts. I mean, I might be spending my time in the wrong piece of
beech
woods.
nuts.
The whole moon thing, and you probably can weigh in on it, Chris. But I was always told that if you've got a full moon, your hunting success is going to go down during the day because they're going to spend most of the night feeding.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I always gleaned from it.
Right.
Makes sense, brighter,
There'll be people that'll disagree with me. And if you look at these moon phase charts and stuff, full moon, they're calling it a hunter's moon. Well, was that because 100 years ago they used to hunt all night long?
Right.
Or what was it? But, I haven't ever enjoyed a lot of success based on the moon phases and stuff like that.
So, I want to get into this year's past buck, but before we get into that, you've shot 200-pounders in the past. Not a few.
Yeah.
I guess how are you getting into these? Are you using trail cameras? Are you trying to find a deer that there's a deer in this area that you want to pursue, or what kind of woods are you
I
looking
do
towards?
use trail cameras, but to be honest with you, my success with deer that I've had on trail camera, it's I don't know. I call it's a lot like a fish finder.
Yeah.
I see it there, but
it tells you what's there, but and especially in the White Mountain region in New Hampshire, putting it together. I mean, anything in that deer's day can alter his. Where he comes and goes.
Whether it's pressure,
he don't have to lay down in a particular area. He's not going to eat in a particular area. I mean, if there's a hot doe there, then obviously you've upped your percentages. But as far as anytime I'm in the woods, I'm really a student of deer. I mean, I love to turkey hunt. I love to hunt everything. But deer hunting is my passion. And so when I'm in the woods, anytime I see something, it might not even, I might be rabbit hunting or. Grouse hunting. And I always log away where I've seen, different sign, or just the type of woods. Oh, that's a big beech flat. We already talked about the beech nut. I'm gonna go check it out and see if there's anything in it, that season. So I can't say as I have any go-to things. I just I try and pay attention to detail. When I'm preparing, I keep my clothes scent free.
How far do you go? Yeah, I was going to say, how far do you have, like, one of the ozone eliminate? Like, no, okay.
No, I use just like Rubbermaid totes or scent bags. And I only use scent bags because I had a good friend that worked for Flambeau. And
you got him.
I got him.
And
you got a smoking deal.
And he brought me a bunch of the stuff. And over the years, it's I throw some scent wafers in there. And I'll wash my hunting clothing. I'm not religious about it, but 3 or 4 times a season, especially my outer stuff. I don't wear it in and out of stores. I don't wear it when I'm fueling.
Okay. You're driving to a spot with like a base layer ish, and then putting your outer layer on. No,
not even.
Just cautious about it.
Just cautious about it. If I
fill up the night before, make sure you got everything in the bag. You're just getting in the truck and going to the stand.
That's it.
Or going to the woods.
As far as I use calling a bit. I've rattled deer in before. Had a little bit of success with that.
That's always a pretty big topic on social media in New Hampshire. Is
New England.
I usually base it on like Halloween is when I'll start using. I'll use Halloween as a marker. Like, start grunting. You can start using the can. What are your thoughts on, curiosity grunts or? Yeah,
I for years, I might have been one of the better salesmen for him, although I never saw any benefit of it. The estrus, the little can call.
Yeah,
I used one of them all season. From archery right through to the end of archery, the beginning of archery through the end of archery, and had great success. Does, fawns, bucks, they all would come and check it out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I tell people, just get one.
Yeah.
It's an $8 item or whatever it was. Just get one. So, over the years, I did a little bit. I worked for Mountain Hall game calls a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
And so I kind of got into that. Kenny Hamill had created his own grunt calls and stuff, and so I'd use some of those.
With
over the-
that, sorry to interrupt. With that small bleat call, would you prepare a sequence? Like, are you using that sequence every time, or are you just being like, I'll take it out, call every 10 minutes, call every...
When I'm sitting, I try and call every 20 minutes,
every
half an
20
hour.
minutes? Yeah,
Just if something's coming through, they might
might hear it.
and really the deer that I shot last year,
That
I
happened.
attribute to
Right.
the calling,
Uh-huh.
because that's really what brought him to where I was
Curious
the
and-
calling.
yeah.
Yeah. So I use a little bit of calling. I try and use decent woodsmanship. I pay attention to the wind, but I don't let it govern the way I hunt,
Mhm.
because our winds are so fickle.
Oh, you're getting a
You
no
know,
or something. and it's
here,
blowing the other way.
there.
Yeah.
The night that I shot that deer last year, the wind had switched at least 4, if not 5 times. And it just turned out that it was proper when he showed up. So,
You
That's-
were working the wind,
That's
yeah.
one of my biggest issues. It's like, all right, if we're walking into somewhere, yeah, we'll try to figure out, get in with the right wind. But then, like you said, you're in a tree, and it's just like, if the thermals change or anything changes, it's just swirling around. You can throw, milkweed up, and it's gonna do this. It's like, what's the point,
that's the thing. I don't let it govern the way I hunt. And
Yeah.
we talk about this frequently. Chris and I work together, so we bounce stuff off each other all day long. And
Especially with a lot of the areas that we hunt, with it having a lot of terrain changes elevation wise. You can go into the woods with the wind in your face, and then you come up and over a ridge, and next thing you know, the wind's at your back, and
Right.
then you're cutting across that ridge, and it's on your cheek, and you
Yeah,
know,
you would never get anything done. Right, yeah.
As the day changes, getting from cool in the morning to warmer during the day, the thermals change direction, and so you try and take as much as you can into account. And
Yeah.
like Mark said, a lot of being successful, and he's had more than his fair share, unfortunately, for some of us. He makes us all look bad. Just powers of observation while you're in the
Yeah.
woods, I think, really, the more pieces of the puzzle you can try and put together, the more successful you're going to be just seeing game in
Right.
general,
Yeah,
whether it's deer or
I think
turkey or-
everybody in our area is familiar with the Benoit family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got to visit with Lane quite frequently.
That's awesome.
When we'd go to different outdoor shows and stuff, and I was helping Mountain Hollow with their their calls and stuff, and of course the Benoits were there, doing their seminars and talking, and really in the deer woods, those people are almost godlike, and I don't say that to be flip. They are very good at what they do, and when you can talk to them. And listen, they put their pants on the same way we do.
Right.
They're just good hunters, and they've put their time in. They learned their lessons. And Lane would always say, I'd ask him, how do you deal with the wind? He grew up in Vermont and hunted New Hampshire and Vermont and Maine and all the same places that we do. And he's like, I don't let the wind. He's like, I very rarely even take it into consideration, because he's like, if I'm trailing a buck, the wind's going to switch depending on the lay of the land and that sort of
Right.
stuff. So he's like, it's rare that it ever governs the way I go through the woods. So, I kind of,
When he says it, then you gotta
there's some salt.
right. Yeah, you gotta kind of go with that.
Yeah.
Are you-
They,
go
they,
ahead.
they were good to talk to. They
Yeah.
were great sounding boards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've read obviously all the books, and Big Woods bucks. I got into tracking 5-6 years ago now, and that's like if there's snow on the ground at any point, like that's what I'm doing. And so I don't know. Last couple years, archery season, we'll pay attention to the wind and we'll do all the right things and the scent control and all that. But if we ever get snow, we're just me and him gone on a track and.
And
Kinda-
what's your success been?
Not
not
very
great.
good. I shot one in its bed, and that was like, I left my front door in the morning and got on a track, and I think it was 4 miles later, he was laying in his bed dead. And I was like, this this
There's
works.
something to this.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like- and all the little signs, like he was kind of on a straight line. So you could see where he slowed up. You can see where he fed on a down beach or a down maple. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to start tiptoeing. And it was like something you would like, it just happened. Like exactly how it was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And so that was incredible. But
Yeah.
as we're doing that, that's what I like to ask people is like, where do you like to hunt? What's the sign you like to hunt? Because I know you can walk through and see old rubs, that like historic rubs. And I kind of always mark that up to like nighttime rut sign. So early season bow season, I'm not necessarily paying much attention to it. Are you taking rubs? Obviously scrapes are a different story, but are you taking like historical rubs into consideration where you...
Locations
Yeah.
more than particular rubs, because it's been my experience that it's been rare where I found what they might refer to as a signpost,
Yeah.
where they constantly just keep coming back to the same
year
one.
after year.
They like to use similar areas,
Mhm.
so I might go back and look in a particular area. There's a particular area near my home and I haven't figured it out yet, that it's not every year they use it.
Mm-hmm.
It might be every third or fourth year,
Yeah,
but when they
that's kinda
use
weird,
it,
huh?
they tear it up. There'll be 50 hookins, in a
Wow.
5-acre piece,
Right.
and the same number of scrapes.
Wow.
And I'm just like,
It's crazy not to sit
Yeah.
here. You have to sit there, right?
yeah, but it's a little tiny piece of land between roads. It's 6
Yeah.
acres. And I'm like, I know they're in there during the night.
Right.
Where are they going during the day? And
Yeah.
that's what I haven't figured out yet. So I don't, I'll look for it, and it's just part of the plan, I guess, as you're kind of going through the woods. A deer I shot not last year, the year before. Chris and my son and myself were hunting. It was the muzzleloader season, and we had hunted without much success. I guess we saw one small deer, and we were just doing little drives, and I like doing that. A lot of times I like being on my feet, because then I can see sign
Right.
and maybe put together a future hunt.
Yep.
And we hadn't seen too much. So we said, I had an idea of it's a place that I turkey hunt
Mhm.
frequently. I had never deer hunted. And so I told Chris and Aaron, I said, you guys go up around on the high side where we turkey hunt. I'm going to start over on the other road, and I'm just going to walk through this piece. I said, just find some place where you can sit. I kind of give him a rough idea, because Chris wasn't familiar with the area, and I just had a place that I wanted Aaron to be. So as I was walking through it, there were 2 fresh scrapes, but those were the first 2 scrapes that I'd seen all season.
Mhm.
Hadn't seen anything during the bow season, and hadn't seen anything up to that point. So I just kind of logged it, and
What was that sign to you though? What were those first 2 scrapes? Just like a little pre-rut activity, something.
no, good scrapes.
They're like
Good
a
scrapes?
communal car hood.
3 or 4 foot around.
Oh yeah, so
lick
hammers.
and branch.
Yeah.
And they were 60 yards apart on a logging road. Excuse me. And I could even tell the direction that he had come. He had actually come down from where they were, but it had been sometime during the previous 24 hours,
Yeah.
I guess. I got up to them. They hadn't seen much, so that was a Sunday. So I took Monday off because we got fresh snow. And it's been my experience that when you get that first fresh snow, you want to be around the scrapes, because they want to
I
go
gotta clear
open
them
them
up.
up.
Freshen them
Yeah.
back up.
Yeah.
Same with like a downpour, leaf fall, like one of those gully washers that are just gonna bust
They
all
want
the
to go check
foliage
their
off.
scrapes.
Yeah,
They want to get their scent back in the scrapes. So
that's a good point right there. Yeah.
I just made a plan. He and I had talked. He was going to go hunt an area near his home. We're half an hour apart. And I said, well, I'm going to go back up in that piece. And it was a pretty good walk up in there, maybe 3/4 of a mile to a mile, I'd say. So I left early. It took me longer than I thought
Yeah.
to get there.
Yeah.
So I got there as light was breaking, and the scrapes had been kicked open. And I knew when I knew when the snow had ended, so I knew that he had been in there within the previous 4 hours.
Right.
So
So you had tracks leaving then?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
sounds
he
like-
had kind of gone off in a direction actually where Chris
Went
had
in?
sat when I walked it.
Yeah.
So I sat down and I started, with bleat and grunts, and it was snowing. It started snowing real hard. I mean, it was piling up, and
quick.
then it stopped. So I got back to my call and I did some rattling. And I remember I was just kind of sitting on the edge of this little, like a log accumulation area, and it was old, but it was an opening in the woods, and so I was doing this calling, and I remember just glancing to my right, and I could see through this hardwood. It was a big beechwood, and I could see some lanes. I could see probably upwards of 200 yards.
Wow, it's a pretty good opening.
And when I looked to my right, this deer literally was inside of 30 yards, and he was coming, and my gun's laid on my lap.
Yeah.
And I'm right-handed.
Yeah.
And he's here, and there's a little stream to my right, and it kind of dropped down just enough. There was some stumps and stuff that they'd pushed up out of the land into my right. And when he went in behind that, he got to the stream, and he hesitated at the stream to jump the stream. And I said, when he comes up, he's only going to be, 5 yards in front of me.
Right.
And so, literally, when he went under the hill to come up over it, I switched the gun left-handed and just kind of got into the gun, and he walked right into my sight, and I shot him at like 5 yards.
Left-handed.
But he
That's
had
pretty
come
fun,
looking
yeah.
for the call.
Yeah.
And he knew that there was a doe and a buck making noise near his scrapes, and he didn't want that. He dressed 192. He's
Nice.
a nice deer. He's
Big deer.
bigger than I thought he was.
Yeah.
8-pointer, and I was thrilled because
That right there, just with that snow breaking, and you going in there and just calling,
Yeah,
whole
he's in
different
the
game plan.
area.
Yeah.
Using a call there is like,
Oh, prime.
even if he
That's
hadn't
a
kicked the
great-
scrapes open, obviously
You'd still be in
that
there
was the
calling.
hook for me because fresh snow,
He's gonna be back.
they like to kick them open.
Yeah.
And so I've been back there. I actually just went there looking for turkeys in the last week, and I saw 2 decent bucks.
Nice.
They basically walked pretty near right out into this logging road ahead of me.
no shit.
And one of them's already showing decent nubs. So
Really?
I'm like,
Wow.
he'll be a good buck this fall.
Wow.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used like before we had, well, this year was kind of a shit season for snow for us, but it was like the last weekend we got a bunch of 18 inches at my house trying to track. I'm like, oh, this is
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah.
But before that, we were, those crisp mornings when the leaves were real noisy. We did the same thing, like walk a couple steps, just ramp, a couple grunts, and it seemed like I was like, am I getting good at this, or is this just like I'm getting lucky? Because it would be like
He came
all-
across,
it
yeah.
was all small bucks,
Like you would
spikes and
always come
fours and
across.
whatever. But without a doubt, you'd go in there and then grunt, and all of a sudden, deer coming in. And I'm like, holy shit! And I was
There's a reason
holding,
for it.
I was holding off for a reason, but I never had that work so well this year.
Yeah, I mean, if your wind's good,
Yeah.
Right.
rustling in the leaves, as long as you're not creating a cadence,
Mm-hmm.
rustling in the leaves is just rustling in the leaves.
Right.
It's a
Could be a
squirrel or
squirrel, could be
something.
Could be
anything.
a squirrel,
Yeah.
could be a turkey,
Yeah.
Sometimes, curiosity, I think, kills a lot.
But,
You know?
yeah.
And,
Would you? I mean, obviously, you're trying to shoot mature deer. Have you had a instance where calling like that would kind of run a smaller spike or 4 off?
I've had some success calling and had smaller deer come in, yes.
Yeah. Does it run them off though? Like
No.
No. you don't
I
think
haven't
so?
had that experience. They come in, and typically when they're right in that close, you stop your calling.
Right. Yeah.
And they just come in and wander around looking like,
Huh?
where are
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Right.
And ultimately they make their way,
Yeah.
and then you let them go for a while. And I've actually had them come back. They'd gone out of sight, and you start calling, and boom, they come right back.
You're in here somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And you kind of give them the
Yeah.
you're playing with fire here, boss.
Yeah. I got 2 bow tags.
Yeah. So it's I think as far as my hunting, it's just an accumulation of knowledge, and then trying to pay attention to detail when you're in the woods.
Yep.
Your scent, you're using different scents. I know that's becoming a topic where a lot
Yeah.
of Midwestern states and stuff with the whole CWD.
Yeah.
Doing away with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
ultimately, yeah, they make some synthetic things that
Shouldn't be
we
put-
may be forced to use. I think probably they can tell the difference, but I don't know.
Right.
You read the studies about
I've heard people
just
putting like I don't know if it
bleach.
was splaying
Ammonia. That's I've heard of them putting
Ammonia,
ammonia.
ammonia in it.
like sugar spray or other little shit
Vanilla.
like that. Yeah,
Vanilla.
vanilla. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just more of like a curiosity,
Yeah.
attractant.
My grandfather got this old tip to put apple cider vinegar in a spray bottle, and he would spray a rock, put a trail camera on it. Sure as shit, deer, bucks would come right to that, lick the rock.
Check
It would work perfect. Yeah, he'd spray it on branches as he's walking in, just kind of.
I knew
Keeping the scent
a
in the
guy,
air.
an old fella, used to use crunchy peanut butter. He'd take a bottle of peanut butter, he'd tack the
Oh, the lid.
cover to the tree, he'd cut the bottom out of it, and then he'd just thread it
Oh,
onto
right.
the tree.
Yeah.
And then the deer would
Go
come and they'd
Lick
like
it.
With the peanut butter.
So,
That's pretty
That's very
funny.
good.
and he shot deer. So
Yeah.
I haven't ever tried it. But,
I'm sure it works.
Of course, some of this stuff, I guess you weed through it.
Yeah.
And some of it is hunting lore. I
Right.
think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of it is legit, but
The scent, the spice. What is it called? Anise.
Anise.
Anise. Yeah.
Revere.
Good cover scent, like a
Yeah.
black
Yeah.
licorice smells. That's a curiosity.
I do use, if I'm hunting out of a tree stand,
Yep.
I use coon urine
Okay.
Yeah,
as
sprinkle
a
it
cover,
around.
just because I know some people are like, oh, I use fox. Well, fox don't climb trees.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I'm up in a tree, I use coon urine.
Yeah.
And, once I get up there, especially with our winds, which we've discussed, I might dust a little bit of it on the tree around me just to
Yeah.
kind of give me, a little cover. But,
Yeah, definitely.
other than that, I mean, just being out
Playing
there.
away. Yeah,
Just-
playing
just-
playing with it.
just doing it, being passionate about it, passing it along. And you talk about, tracking and having it all turn out the way you wanted it to.
Which really rarely happens for me,
Right.
but
Well,
still, you see deer.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was-
Two years ago, my son, at the time he was a college student, and he wasn't getting much hunting time with class and everything. And we had gotten some really crappy weather, some snow, and it had changed over to rain. They canceled classes, so
Perfect.
First thing he does is throws his camo on, grabs his rifle, and heads for the woods. He had seen a forkhorn the weekend before, and he was going back to hunt that deer. And so with the fresh snow, he started up into the piece. Ultimately, he cuts 3 tracks, and he starts following it. He said, I didn't go, 10 or 15 yards, and he's like, and I jumped the deer, and as it went across in front of him, he see that it had just a massive rack on
Right.
it. And he knew we weren't after the forkhorn anymore. And so he said, I started thinking about, all the different things, that you've taught me, and all the different things, when you used to take me to Hal Blood seminars and the Benoits and Dick Bernier
Right,
and all
yeah.
the different guys that are great trackers. They share a lot of things in common. And so Aaron said he remembered that, all of you had always said, if you jump that deer, give him 20 minutes. Just let him realize that something's not chasing him.
Right. Yeah.
Let him calm down. So he waited 20 minutes, and he actually tried to text me. I was at work, and I didn't take the text, and I didn't actually even realize the text had come in. But,
Yeah.
So he said, when you didn't get back to me, he said, I waited to 20 minutes, and I started on the track. And as he followed the track, the deer kind of was meandering a little bit. And he circled around. He said there was a knob off to his right, and he looked over there, and a couple of does got up out of their bed and just jumped down over the bank. And he said, As he followed the buck track around, ultimately the buck was with him. He was just under the hill. He couldn't
Right.
see him. So he started following him again. And it's funny because this deer almost hit all the different tracking cues, things that were points that I always tried to drive home to him. He got on the track. The buck's track was similar to the doe tracks. He was having a hard time sorting them out. But they stayed together. And they went through some softwood. They went through a break in the stone wall, came to the edge of a small patch cut. It's been my experience that they're not going to beeline across that unless they have to. They're going to circle that cut to get to the other side, and then they're going to get to the other side, and they're going to turn around. They're going to watch their back trail, because whatever's trailing them typically is going to trail by scent.
Right.
So they're going to take that track, and the deer's
So they're
gonna,
J-hooking around that cut.
they're going to have time to see what's following them.
Right.
And so he said, I come out to the cut. He said, so I looked across, thinking, hey,
He's gonna be...
always check the far side, and he didn't see him. But sure enough, they went down around the bottom of the cut. When he got to the far side, there was some hemlock. And he said at that point, 2 tracks went right, 1 track went left. It's just been my experience that you take the single track, because a big buck is going to want to try and get away from the masses, knowing that the predators are going to go after the masses. Obviously your odds are better.
Yeah.
Right.
Less eyes, yeah.
Right. So he took the single track, and he went maybe 15 yards from that cut. He stepped over a stone wall. And he said, when I picked my head up, there was a large ash tree in front of him. And he could just see a hind quarter behind that ash about 15 yards away. But he couldn't see the front end of the deer.
Right.
So he's like, I didn't really know what deer I had in front of me until it turned its head, and then he saw its rack, and then he knew. Well, so long story short, he ended up shooting the thing. He hit him 3 times. He fired at him 3 times and hit him all 3 times.
Nice.
And he called me, and he was super excited. He's like, Dad, I think I just shot the biggest buck of my life. And of course, as a dad, I'm like, hell yeah,
I gotta go.
Yeah. And I did. I actually went to the director at where I work and told her I needed to go, and for what reason. And she's like, why are you still standing here?
Yeah, let's go.
She was great about it. She's
Awesome.
like, one thing, you just got to send pictures.
Yeah.
So I did, and we went back, and we got his deer out, and a massive rack buck, just a beauty.
That's awesome.
He dressed, I think he was around 180 pounds, but
just a stud. Yeah.
just an awesome 12-point rack. Just
no shit.
just beautiful.
Wow.
And it was certainly a proud dad moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, but that deer was perfect for him
the hard
to put
work
together the whole tracking on his own.
That one deer just taught him a lifetime of lessons on a deer track.
It kind of proved the things that he had already learned, but had never been able to apply.
Yeah.
That's the part that everyone. It's hard to find.
That's
Is the
hard.
part that applies is when it actually
I'm
works
doing
out
you
for
think
you.
you're
and
doing
like,
everything
whoa.
right, and then you come up to a bed with more running tracks out of it. You're like, oh my fucking god,
Sit down and eat a sandwich.
Yeah.
How many sandwiches? I only brought 1 sandwich.
Mark jumped him out of his third bed.
So
I know 4 years ago I jumped on a track of a deer behind my house that I cut the track after having already walked a half mile through the woods, and he was going diagonally back the direction that I had come from. And from the time I got on his track to seeing him 6 different times and never getting a shot opportunity, I went over a ridge, back over a ridge, back over a ridge again, back over a ridge again.
I can't stand it. It drives me.
And literally, I put
just want
6
this to end.
miles on in the snow chasing this deer, and it seemed like every time I'd think that, okay, he's going to be right here. I'd have my gun ready, and I'd come around the next little knoll, and he's not there. I saunter up another 50, 60 yards, and next thing you know, he's jumping from behind me because he had circled around.
Right, yeah. Same thing happened to me this year. I was like, after literally probably the 7th bed, I came, it's like 2:30 in the afternoon, and then just seeing the deer probably 3 times maybe, and then literally the 7th bed I came up to, and I'm just like, I see running tracks again. I'm done. I'm done. I know you shouldn't, and I know I should have just kept on going. Yeah. But I left my house, and I'm like, looking at the map, I'm like, ooh, I got a long walk.
I've been there,
where it's either you got to call it quits or you
got to call it quits. But that was another thing that I gleaned from Lane was that don't give up on him early.
Yeah.
You can walk out in the dark.
Right.
He's like, I'm going to hunt him until shooting light's done, and then I'm going to be back in there before shooting light the next day if the weather permits. I guess tenacity. You gotta
just keep poking.
Got to put the time in, and that style of hunting is so rewarding. I have mixed success at it, but if the conditions are right, I'm certainly going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I really do love to sit in a tree stand. I love that part of it. I love hunting hardwood ridges, certain land
Yeah.
types. Some people are swamp guys. They want to hunt in the
Right,
swamp,
right.
If that's where the deer are, that's where I'm going. But,
Right.
if I have a preference and I could pick a perfect morning or a perfect evening, it's
Hardwood
sitting,
ridge.
20 feet up in a big oak flat or a big
Yeah.
beech flat.
Where you can see a little ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A little selected.
Just unfortunately, they
area.
don't typically want to play by those rules.
No, yeah.
Don't work like that.
Yeah. So
So you want to get into this past year's hunt, the
Sure.
big boy?
Sure. Yeah.
I gotta get up and walk around a little bit. Fucking
Yeah,
freeze.
Yeah, I know. My voice is quivering, and
I
it's
know.
not because I'm nervous.
It's April.
Yeah, no, we talked earlier a little bit, but I can go back over it. We made plans as a group to get together at a camp that had history, but people hadn't been to in a long time, and it was ground that I had never really put boots on. Living and growing up in the area, I knew the general lay of the land. I had hunted in some of the perimeter areas, just not in that particular area.
Mm-hmm.
The good thing about the piece of property is that it has restricted access, and the camp owner really is kind of the only private landowner within that area. So, it's an area
Man.
that just doesn't see road
It's
traffic.
a beautiful spot.
It doesn't see road traffic, and it's far enough back in that most people don't want to walk it. We've talked about using, like battery-powered bikes. That's getting to
E-bikes
be
or
a big
whatever.
thing.
Yeah, that's starting
E-bikes.
to get.
So we've talked about that, and of course, the cost is a little prohibitive.
Oh,
but,
jeez.
but that's discussion, and
Oh, yeah.
and that discussion is based solely on the fact that the areas where we live, between national forest and big property owners, there's some great land that nobody ever touches.
Mhm.
And the deer like I shot last year, those deer typically aren't going to make their home down near roads, down near homes. Every now and then, of course, they do, and a lot of times, a doe deer is unraveling, but those deer are going to make their home back away.
Mhm.
They're kind of recluse in that they don't want to bang heads with everybody.
Right.
They just want to live their life and have the rule of the roost,
Right.
So we made our camp, and 3 of us had never hunted it before. 3 had hunted out of the camp before. One of them was one of the old timers, as we would refer to him. He had hunted there for decades.
Mm-hmm.
But his distance of travel from camp was pretty limited, so he hunted near camp.
Yeah.
Camp sits in a big oak bowl, basically, so his hunting was decent right near camp. So
Yeah. Why move? Why change?
Yeah,
It's
right.
working,
Easy.
right?
right, and his son, who actually was the one that had shared the trail cameras pictures with me of the deer that I ultimately took, had pictures of good deer, including the one I took right near camp. So he covered a pretty big piece of land up in there, and so to make a long story shorter, that morning I had sat in an oak flat behind camp. I didn't see any deer. In fact, the group saw 1 deer total. It was a doe deer, and she was down low. I saw 3 moose that were frequenting a clear cut. There's a lot of clear cut land up there, so a lot of fresh growth, which is always good.
Undergrowth, yeah, great.
Made our way back to camp maybe midday, had some lunch, and then for the most part, everybody had already decided where they were going. I didn't know where I was going, so the camp owner asked me, and I said, I don't know, you tell me. He goes, well, I don't really know. He said, I can tell you a few locations. I said, well, last night at dinner time, I heard you and Frank speak about a place called the Old Farmer's Field. And in my head as a hunter, if I can find an opening, deer like edge cover.
Mm-hmm.
If it's an opening, you're going to get fresh growth. Just the things that things that you tend to pay attention to. So he gave me directions to it. Nate, the kid that had the trail cameras, was hunting up in that general direction. So we walked together, and I dropped him off. He had a climber on a tree. He was hunting with iron sights on his muzzleloader, and by his own admission, wasn't great with it.
Right,
So he was
yeah,
keeping
yeah.
his shots 50 yards or less. And so because I had concerns, I didn't want to step on his toes. I mean, obviously he had hung his stand up in that area, and he said, "You're going to be quite a ways away from me if you're going to the farmer's field." So, anyways, I left him, and when I got out of what I figured he could shoot, I was probably 100 yards from him, I just threw my scent drag on my boot and made my way up through the woods. And I came out into that opening, and like I shared earlier, it kind of surprised me that it had been semi-maintained.
Right. Yeah.
And I found out later that the lumber company or whoever is in charge of it, it was part of an agreement to keep some of these open spaces open. So they brush hog it at least once a year, and it's usually in the fall. At Halloween this past year, it hadn't been done. So our concern was that maybe they're not going to do it anymore.
Right.
So made my way in and walked the west end of the field. The opening is probably 300 yards long by 100 or a little better wide. And plan was to go halfway up the field. And when I got there, I really couldn't see well because of the roll in the field. So I made the faithful decision to move back to a little cluster of trees that sat inside the field, about 30 yards off the corner. I was probably 30 yards to the west and 30 yards to the south to each stone wall.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a really good hide. I had a bunch of berry bushes. I had a big rock to my right, and the root of the tree kind of wrapped around my back to the left. It was really a very comfortable spot. And if I'm being totally honest, I didn't have high hopes for the sit.
You're just like, this is a good napping spot.
It
Yeah,
absolutely was a good napping spot, and to be honest with you, I was close to it.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there, and I was watching the sun go down and doing what we always do. You think about your family and your friends and past hunts and everything else that's going on. At about quarter four, I heard a gunshot up in the same area. So I felt pretty confident that somebody in our group had shot at something. And
those are the best times.
Oh, you're like, oh, someone shot.
Oh, we're gonna go home tonight. We're gonna drink around the deer.
yeah, that was it. Like, this is gonna work out all right. So, and the strange thing is way back up in where we were, I had full bars of service on my phone, which is just unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and pretty soon I got a text from my cousin, and he said Dennis, who was the youngest of the group and didn't have a lot of hunting experience, had shot a deer out of his saddle.
No shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
you didn't tell us that. That's funny. That's a little kicker right there.
He
yeah.
had come to camp, and he's like, "You ever hunted out of a saddle?"
Yeah.
And I said, "No," but I said, "I certainly have interest in it."
Right.
And he had kind of put it together himself. It was a rock climbing harness, and he had bought some of the tethers and lineman's ropes and his own clips and
Everything to climb with.
kind of
yeah.
put it all together himself. He didn't buy a package like we've seen today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the night before the hunt, he had mentioned it, and of course the old timer in camp, said, "A what?" And he's like, "Oh, well, a saddle. I'm going to hang off the side of the tree."
Is that a sex swing? What is that thing?
And so he had to give a little impromptu demonstration in the front of the camp. And I remember that one of the older fellas just kind of murmuring that fat chance I was getting up in one of those things.
Right.
So, anyways, he ended up shooting a fork-horn, a 4-pointer, 110, maybe 115-pound deer
Awesome.
out of it.
Nice. That's awesome.
It come right up to him, and he shot him at 5 yards probably. And first time he'd ever hunted out
That's
of it.
awm.
And
It's
he's
pumped
like,
right up. Yeah.
"Oh yeah, we were all."
I
psyched
told you
for
it
him.
worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind
Yeah.
of.
I told you.
Where'd you buy that saddle thing, anyways?
So the rest of the sit for me was we already knew we had a deer in camp.
Yeah.
So
Now you're
our-
just smooth sailing.
So we'd already accomplished what we'd want to accomplish, which was just get guys together
Yeah.
and then get a deer.
Have some fun. Yeah.
And so I was sitting there, and the sun was going down on the hill in front of me, and I really was kind of droning out pretty good. And every 20 minutes or so, I was throwing out some estrus bleats and grunts. I do like the extinguisher deer call.
Yep.
That's not a shameless plug. I just like it. It works well, has good sound. Every 20 minutes. And it got to be, I figured I probably had a half an hour of hunting. I think.
What would you do? Just a simple mat?
No, just
long
kind of
ones?
if you think of how the can call works, you
Yeah.
know, kind of that
Yeah.
sound. Just a few of those.
Okay.
And the thing with the extinguisher, it has the adjustable reed. You know,
You can
so I would set it
change
to
the tone.
to the sound for the doe estrus, and it's marked.
Yeah.
You can use
Yeah.
that. I
Right.
tend to change it a little bit. Just in my ear, it sounds. Who knows?
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I always
Little kick
talk
to it.
about my turkey call, and I think sounds good in my ear, but
Right,
it doesn't
yeah.
really, because some of the worst sounding turkeys I've ever heard have been live hens.
Oh,
Right.
it's been crazy. Yeah.
So, you know, and then I just slide it down to, I don't go to the deepest grunt on the call because, you know, I got no problem with shooting a 4-corner or a 6-pointer or whatever. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I'm a hunter
You
first.
just don't want to scare anything
It depends
away.
how my hunt goes, and that's what I try and tell people. I want to shoot a big buck,
Yeah.
and don't get me wrong, and there's been times that I've certainly passed lesser deer, but it could be however the night goes. You know, if it feels right, you know, maybe I'll shoot a 6-pointer.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I don't pride myself on being a trophy hunter. I've been fortunate, but I'm a hunter,
Great.
and
that's-
and I like the taste of venison. So
Yep.
Yeah.
that plays. in a
That's the
little bit.
lesson.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the
So-
lesson.
So I figured I probably had about half an hour time left, maybe 20 minutes. And so I had done my last calling sequence, and probably within 2, maybe 3 minutes of that, I heard a really sounded like a bleat to me. It didn't sound like a buck grunt.
Mhm.
It sounded high-pitched almost, more fawn or small doe sound. You know, it's just a meh.
Right.
And I was psyched. I'm like, well, I'm at least going to get to see a deer, you
Right,
know.
yeah.
And hunting in central New Hampshire, people know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I saw a damn deer tonight.
Yeah.
No, you didn't. Yeah.
Friggin' liar.
Yeah.
You know, so I glanced around this tree that I was sitting in front of, and I'm telling you, I just saw a wall of antlers. It's the first deer that I can tell you shook me up a bit.
Yeah.
I had to look away and get my shit together. And I just remember saying, you know, that's a deer that Nate has on camera.
Yeah.
And so I got into position, or tried to get into position to shoot, and I made a little rustling in the leaf litter, and that deer didn't miss a beat, man. He snapped his head around and stayed in my direction pretty hard. Now, I knew I was hidden well, and I think he was just more than anything looking to see where the deer were.
Right. Yeah.
And when he didn't see him, he kind of went back to trail, following the scent trail that I had laid down. And fortunately, that walked him right into my shooting lane.
Perfect.
And he was at about 35 yards. And I just remember talking myself through the shot so that I didn't blow it, because it was an easy shot.
Keep your ear out for your number.
And he bucked up in the air and made a couple of bounds, and then back over the stone wall. And I watched him go down through the woods. Maybe I saw his flag, I think 3, maybe 4 times. And I remember marking where he went over the stone wall, and I remember seeing his last flag was near this large hemlock tree. And I said, okay, I know he ran by that. And the light was starting to fade. And so I tried to reload my muzzleloader, and recently I've changed back to a powder form. I shoot the black horn.
Okay. Yeah.
I shoot the old school
headshot,
black, yeah.
headshot pellets, which are a lot easier to load
Just
when you're shaking like
Yeah.
a leaf. I had to literally press my knuckles together so that I could get the gun reloaded because I was shaking so bad.
Yeah.
And got the gun reloaded, picked up my stuff, and made my way over to the stone wall. And right there where I'd shot at him was already good blood. And I said, well, that's a good sign. And
Did you get a text by then? Because someone else heard another gunshot?
No.
Nothing, huh?
And where he went over the stone wall, there was actually a chunk of lung laying on the stone wall.
Oh, wow. Blew right through.
And I went maybe
We're good. I'm good.
25 yards into the woods, and I could see him laid there. And as I was walking up to him, his head was still up. And of course, now I'm all jacked up, thinking,
Yeah.
I got to shoot him again.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
And I literally I shouldered the gun again, but I looked closely at him, and his chest wasn't moved.
Yeah.
And it just seemed odd. As I walked up to him, he had kind of in his death run, he had run through a striped maple, probably 1.5 inches on diameter, and it broke it off in his antlers.
Oh, so he was propped up.
And when he died, he actually died at one of his hooking trees. It was a small pine.
Oh, no shit.
Or a hooking tree. I don't
Yeah.
know that it was his. And that went in behind that stick and locked his head in position, in the upright position. He was just laying there like he was a dog, and but he was stone dead.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And as I looked at him, I just,
You can't even re-describe the experience.
I'm
It's
telling
just,
you,
it's
I
unbelievable.
just looked at him and I was like, my God, that's a massive deer. And I've been fortunate. I've shot some good ones.
Yeah.
And I felt pretty confident he was the biggest.
He was the biggest one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
And,
your buddy Gus, correct?
Gus.
What was his what did he say
Well,
after you shot
There's
that
a funny
deer?
story
The-
about
the
this.
Because
kid
I
that
bet
I
he's
had-
all pumped up.
The kid that I had walked in with, Nate. So I tagged him, and just about the time I tagged him, a group of coyotes started whooping it up, maybe 200 to 400 yards away. And I said, there ain't no way you're eating this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go sleep in the woods with this thing before you eat it.
Yeah.
And so I walked back to Nate, and he was just getting down, and he said, "You hear that gunshot?" I said, he said, "Yeah, did you hear that gunshot?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "The first one?" And he goes, "Oh, no, that was Dennis. Did you hear that other one?" And I thought he was messing with me.
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, that was me." He goes, "That was you." He goes, "Sounded like it was behind me." I said, "Well, I was shooting back towards the mountain."
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got the echo. And he goes, "Well, what'd you get?" I said, "I think it's the one you got pictures of, dude." He goes, "The little one or the big one?" I said, "It's a big one."
It's a big one.
I said, "I can tell you he's big." And he goes, "Oh." He goes, "Well, let's go look at him." And I said, "I think we're going to need some help."
No.
And he goes, "Help?" Now, mind you, Nate's a merchant marine. He's a big kid.
Yeah.
And I said, "I think we're going to need some help. He's pretty big." And he says, okay. So he gets on the phone, he calls, and Gus answers the phone. And you got to know Gus. I mean, he's, if you could picture, the tough guy for a mob family, that's Gus.
Yeah.
And, I can hear the conversation in Nate's ear, and Nate says, Mark shot a big deer. He says we're going to need some help. And Gus's response is, "You two friggin' pussies can't get it out of the woods." And he says, "Well, Gus, I'm telling you." He says, "Mark shot some pretty good-sized deer. If he's saying we need help, I got to believe we need help." God damn it, we'll be up. So they make their way up towards us, and by then Nate and I had got back to the deer, and we're walking in. By then we had our headlamps on, and I remember hearing Nate behind me as he got maybe 10 or 15 yards from it saying, "Jesus, that's a big deer.
Yeah.
That's the biggest deer I've ever seen." I said, "That's what I was trying to tell you."
That's the biggest thing I've ever seen. Yeah.
And, so we, high-fived and took some pictures.
Yeah.
And Gus and Dennis had made their way into us. And it's funny being there at the deer and watching them walk up to it. And they both stopped in their tracks and said similar things.
Yeah.
"Jesus Christ, that's a big deer. Holy crap." Told you.
Yeah.
So, so we dressed it and started to make our way out with it. And Dennis, youngest of the group, big strong kid, and Gus, who's probably the best in shape older gentleman I know, grabbed onto it. They didn't go 5 or 6 yards with it. And Gus looks at Dennis and he says, "Am I the only one pulling on this goddamn thing?" Dennis said, "I was going to ask you the same damn thing." And so I said, "Gus, get out of the way." I said, let the young bloods get on it. And So Nate and Dennis, they dragged it maybe 20 yards, got to the stone wall, and they couldn't get over the stone wall. So 3 of us got him over the stone wall, and then I said to Nate, I said, "You still got your harness on?" He said, "I do."
Yeah, I can take that thing apart.
I said, "Dennis, you got your tethered line?" "Oh, I do. It's in my pocket." I said, "Let me have it." So we put it around the horns and clipped it onto Nate's harness. So he had his full harness.
And he's just walking
And
with
Dennis and I each grabbed a horn, and 3 of us went right along with him. He moved pretty good.
That's pretty good.
That's
a good idea.
another good idea for a
wearing a
saddle, I
harness
guess.
too,
You know.
yeah.
It's-
Yeah, and we dragged him about 600 yards, I'd say, and were able to get a truck back in the rest of the distance.
Son of
Yeah.
a gun.
Yeah, and then we took him to the local weighing station, which decided to close early that night. So I wanted to weigh him that night because I didn't want him to dehydrate,
Mhm.
and I wanted to see what he truly weighed. So we drove to the next closest one, and they weighed him in at 270. And
Son of a dude.
I green
The
scored
body, I
him.
bet.
I score for the Antler and Skull Club, and I just put a tape on him out of my own curiosity. Green scored a little over 180 inches. And after his drying time, he grossed 177 3/8,
Wow.
and he netted 170
Fucking
even.
monster.
Holy
So he made
smokes.
Boone and Crockett.
Yeah,
He set
yeah.
a new muzzleloader state record.
That's awesome.
And
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. What do you
Yeah.
think of that?
And he was number 1 weight-wise, too.
Yeah.
And I said, he's kind of like that, that tight end that can kind of do everything.
Yeah.
He's got good hands, but he's got size. He can block.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you just don't get that package
Yeah.
frequently.
No,
no.
And
Not
in
at
order
all.
for him to have the antlers and the body weight was
It
really
was great.
pretty special. So
Excellent.
that's the story of Junior the Buck.
All right. Good deal.
That's awesome. We appreciate you coming on
Yeah.
talking to
it's,
us.
it's appreciated, and then like I say, it's nice for the accolades, but it's also a lot of this I'm doing just so the deer's a special deer,
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
and I'm having a nice mount done so that other people can see him
See
and
him.
share.
Well, I'm
it.
sure we'll
That's
see him
great.
at some shows coming up then.
Yeah, if we ever get to do them.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna start doing it myself. This is the closest thing we've had to a show in a year, so
Yeah.
it's nice to get.
We'll take it.
yeah,
We'll take it. Take a little get together. Just meet some new people. It's great.
Yeah.
How
I
did
love
you
it.
guys fare this past season?
Not good.
No.
No. You shot.
I
you
shot a
one
Muzzleloader.
muzzleloader?
4-pointer muzzleloader. I was just filming him, kind of swapped off. Then our buddy Nick passed up on a buck muzzleloader season because he wanted to shoot one with the new 30-30 he got. He ended up shooting the same buck with his 30-30 rifle season.
Yeah.
It
And
was a
we
nice,
saw, we
nice,
saw a
nice
lot of deer.
6-pointer. Yeah.
That's awesome.
We saw
And,
a lot of deer. Yeah.
Yeah, he saw a bunch of deer. I was more focusing with a recurve this past year too, so I've been dabbling in that a lot. Still going with it. So,
That's the buck Chris shot this year.
holy smokes!
So I was supposed
That's
to
a cannon,
hunt with
too.
Mark at that camp, and
You did that instead.
well, that was muzzleloader at camp, and
And a
the
rifle.
day that I was supposed to hunt with him, my wife had been sick for the past 3 years. She wasn't feeling well that evening before when we were supposed to go to camp, so I just made the decision to stay home and hunt
Yeah.
around the
Yeah, of
house so
course.
that I'd be close for her. And I ended up finding the scrape line that I shot him on that day of muzzleloader that Mark shot.
Holy
that buck.
crap!
Oh no shit.
And
day?
I ended up going back. The next time
You
I
found
hunted
that
that
sign.
spot, I hunted it the opening day of gun, and I ended up harvesting him opening morning.
What was he doing? Coming through cleaning?
He came through following my scent drag up to his scrape
It's a
line.
scent drag too.
Yeah.
We started dabbling in that a little bit too.
Yeah, but
It
I had
can't
gotten
hurt.
in the
No,
woods.
can't.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got in the woods super early because I knew where I had to go. I had to climb a lot of elevation, so I was literally walking
Yeah, I'd
for
stopping,
2 or
walking.
3 minutes, stopping, taking a water break,
Try not to sweat
walking
the
2
whole
or 3
way.
minutes. And when I got in, I literally stripped the shirt off that I was wearing, stuffed it in a Ziploc, sprayed down with dead downwind scent killer, and then put a brand new shirt on. And then he literally came in probably 45 minutes after that.
It's a nice
Jeez,
buck.
that
Nice
is a
8-pointer.
beautiful,
beautiful rack. on him.
Symmetrical, very.
Yeah.
He's
Thing's
got those
great.
wavy
Oh
tines.
yeah.
Yeah, I put a tape on him.
Oh, sweet. Won a
Whoa!
prize.
What a
I
hat!
put a
You're
tape
too
on him. He
crazy.
ended up being 137-inch 8-pointer. So I mean,
Holy crap!
he's a good 8-pointer. So
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
it's I mean, we talk about hunting in central New Hampshire, and I have friends that have a farm in mid-state Michigan,
Mhm.
and I relate it to being the haves and have-nots of deer hunting.
Yeah.
You know, where you know when we first got together and started talking deer hunting, you know, he would relate his stories. I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
You know, seeing tens of deer, not
Right. Yeah.
a deer.
Yeah.
You know,
Huh.
I
Gets a little discouraging.
I sat 4 days straight from dark to dark at one stand and never saw a deer.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him that, and he said, "You're sick." He said, "You got problems, dude."
Yeah. That's
He
how
said,
it is,
that's
man.
just so
Yeah.
whole-
He
yeah.
said, "If I sit in one spot where I live for 15 minutes and I'm not seeing a pile of deer, I'm moving because I know they're on the other side of the farm."
Yeah.
I said, 15 minutes, dude. I don't even have my mittens on.
Yeah, I know. I just got in there.
Yeah. So I mean, we've started. We go out at least every other year to hunt in Michigan, and
That's pretty cool.
and I think people think I'm being exaggeratory when I tell them on a couple of different occasions in a 3-hour sit I've seen over 200 deer,
I can believe that.
and it's just crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things where you can pass those lesser deer because you stand a high likelihood you're going to see what you want to shoot
Right.
before the end of the hunt.
Yeah.
You don't do that in New Hampshire.
No, not at
You
all.
know, I
Same with
mean,
the southern states. Like there's a reason why they get to, residents get to shoot one deer a day, every friggin' day if they
Yeah.
wanted to, or two
Or
deer
just-
a day every day.
Keep buying doe permits.
Yeah.
I've always said if you can kill a deer in New Hampshire, you can kill them any place they make
Yeah.
tracks because they come pretty hard.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Yeah, we just going 5 hours over New York is just a big difference over
Cherry Valley.
Yeah, Cherry Valley area.
Yeah.
And it's just we'd go there for a week straight, and that's all we have to do is hunt. That's all we want to do, a little
Yeah.
deer camp.
Right.
And it's it's nice because you get to see those 5, 6 deer a day.
Well, that's and I'm
I'm like,
it can be
oh,
does.
perfect.
I
Yeah,
don't
I don't
care.
care
just
as long
wanna
as they
see
come
something
through.
while I'm sitting.
Yeah.
And that keeps me
Yeah,
interested.
it keeps the
Yeah.
hours, keeps the hours.
Even
Yeah.
if you have something to come
Going.
by, it's like, something's going to be behind it today.
Yeah.
I know it.
We've been, my wife and we've been looking for some land out in, eastern New York, just for a place to go.
Mhm.
Bow
You
hunt
talking about
season.
leasing?
No, buying.
No, you're
Buying,
buying? Yeah.
hoping to buy, and it's been pretty tough. The whole virus thing has put kind of a
Yeah, yeah.
kibosh to it. So, eventually, someday, I'll have it.
Is there a lot of openings over there in the east part of the state? A lot of land for sale?
There's a bit.
There is a bit? Not
Yeah,
much.
I missed out on some of the better ones that I wanted because I couldn't go look at them
Yeah.
because of my
Yeah,
employer
right.
wants me to quarantine.
Right, yep.
Right,
Oh,
yeah,
that
yeah,
is-
I'm not
yeah.
burning my time up.
Right.
Just
to go overlook over piece
Yeah,
of land.
so-
Right.
That's the plan, though, is ultimately get a place where I can go and spend some time archery hunting and where you have a legitimate chance of seeing some deer.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I don't care if I see trophy deer. I
Yeah.
just want to see some deer.
Right.
Maybe put some in the freezer.
And we went. What is that? Bedford. That big indoor arena where they have that.
New Hampshire Expo.
Yeah, the New Hampshire Expo.
I think it was in Bedford.
You guys, I'm guessing, been to those. You walk through and a lot of guides and whatever, and
I
it's a
think
lot of
that's-
a lot of people from New Hampshire. It's like, oh, where are you guiding? New York. Everyone from New Hampshire is over in New York guiding. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, I ain't shooting. You can't guide over here. Like, huh?
I guided here. I had my guy's license. I still have it. I just don't. I haven't renewed it.
Right.
And I used to. And I did a lot with, moose hunting, turkey
Yeah.
hunting,
Bears.
turkey hunting.
Yeah,
and,
turkey
and
hunting. You
bear
can
baiting.
definitely
Yeah.
have some.
I
have
didn't.
some fun
I
with
had a
turkey
lot of
hunting.
people contact me and want a deer hunt, and I didn't feel right because our deer hunting's so fickle.
Yeah.
And I said I'd feel bad, taking
Charge you.
hundreds of dollars from you and honestly not giving you a legitimate
Maybe seeing a deer.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Maybe
Shoot a
you
deer.
can see a deer.
Yeah.
We can travel to any state, even just around us, and in a week's time, you're going to see deer.
Oh yeah.
You might spend a week on your home turf here and not see
See a deer.
Yeah.
Right.
You
I know they're here, but you're just not seeing
And that's
them.
why I try and say that, you can kill a deer in New Hampshire, you can kill them any place they
Yeah.
make tracks.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe that.
I believe it.
Yeah, I'm
for
right
sure.
there with you.
Go to Illinois, or I've bow hunted Illinois. And same scenario, kind of, just deer. Like, it comes in waves. Okay, here comes a group of does. Here comes a group of does. Here comes a group of does. There's gonna be a buck behind one of these groups of does.
Yeah,
you know?
gotta be.
Yeah.
Gotta be. Nope.
Yeah, exactly. Nope. And there sure wasn't. Nothing I could shoot, at least. I had to shoot something bigger than 130, so I was like,
Yeah.
that's another thing. Judging something on the hoof being from New Hampshire, I'm not, I don't know. They all look big to me.
Right.
I'm letting them fly. Yeah.
Well,
Now,
we
you-
joke all the time watching YouTube videos, and you're watching people that are, using a tethered saddle and they're up in their platform and they're passing deer that I would be at full draw and already have released.
Right,
and,
right, exactly.
And they're just watching them walk by, and I'm like, why is he letting him go by?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
There's a certain number on a deer that I figure if I ever get to a point where I'm like, yeah, I'm not shooting that.
Yeah.
Two things. I've either
Yeah.
moved to an area that has a lot of big ones,
Yeah.
or it's time for me to get done hunting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know.
I don't care what it is. I'm just there to hunt.
You know,
I'm just
people-
there to get out in the woods and enjoy the time.
That's
To
really what
yourself,
it's all
really.
about. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people ask me, "Oh, well, did you target that buck?" No, it's the first
Right.
time I saw him.
Right.
And
That just seems a new thing now, like especially with all this technology coming out, listening to people do podcasts, stuff like that. A lot of people are just starting to manage deer that they hunt just by targeting one deer and sticking to that deer. It's hard.
luck.
It's hard.
Good luck here.
It's hard, yeah.
Other states,
I got
yeah,
one picture
but-
of that buck, and that's the last time I saw a picture of him all year. It's like, oh, sweet.
yeah, I mean, 90% of my
You guys are having a big time down here.
Oh, yeah.
90% of the pictures I have
You're
in,
good, no worries.
trail cams are nighttime.
Nighttime, yeah.
You know,
That's what it is.
It's rare that I get a daytime
Yeah.
photo of a buck.
But you're still going in there and hunting that piece.
Of course, he's
yeah,
there.
of course.
He lives there.
Yeah.
At some point he's going to be on his feet. He ain't going to lay on his belly all day.
Right.
Right.
At some point he's going to get up, move around, or if a
hopefully
stinky
you're there.
girl runs by him, maybe
Yeah.
he'll get up and do
Hey,
more
what's
of
that?
it.
Yeah.
We joke around about the fact that when we both started hunting, there was no such thing as game cameras initially. There were string timers.
Yeah.
Right, yes.
I've
we've
seen
heard
one in
of
the
it. We've
woods.
heard
I'm
of
like,
it.
oh, it's a string.
Right.
You know?
You don't know what it was that walked by. You assume it might have been
Yeah.
a deer, and this was the time it came by and
this
pulled
is-
the little
right,
tab.
right.
Perfect.
I used to put them over scrapes
Yeah.
because then it, and
You
I
kind of
leave
window down your.
Leave it low.
Yeah.
Yeah, leave it low enough, high enough so small stuff go under it, but it'd catch a
Yeah.
deer. But that way I could tell when they were visiting the scrape.
Mm-hmm.
And typically there'd be fresh tracks in the scrape. So I could kind of put a few things together there. But, I mean, you had a digital watch basically with a string, and it would pull the thing out and shut it off at that time. And then you'd put it back in, you'd be like, oh, well, he was here at 10 p.m.
And it might have been a deer.
It might have been a deer. And if you paid
A lot of
close
faith in
attention
that thing.
and you didn't have a lot of wind, whatever direction the string went
That's what he
was the
walking.
direction that he was
went.
traveling.
Right.
So
That's hilarious.
things are a lot.
Different.
A lot
Advanced
different
now.
now.
Yeah.
Advanced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even areas that we used to hunt. So, quick little backstory. Mark and I both started hunting in our high school years.
Mm-hmm.
Both archery hunted, kind of learned from our dads initially, but hunted with other people as well. And I this is going to be a really bad word. You might have to bleep this out, but I'm a transplant. I grew up in southeastern Mass.
Okay.
Moved here.
It's all right. It's okay.
Yeah, it
So-
don't matter to us.
Anyways, I used to travel to Vermont
Mhm.
every year, and we'd hunt archery, rifle, we'd hunt turkeys, and we hunted a specific area in Vermont. So, fast forward 25 years later, I move my life up here to New Hampshire. I get a job, and at this job, the first day that I'm there and I'm actually having lunch in the shop with everybody, Mark and I meet, start talking about different things that we enjoy doing, and hunting comes up, and I start talking about the fact that, I've always traveled to New Hampshire, but I used to hunt in Vermont a lot. And he's like, oh, really? Where? And I start talking to him, and next thing you know, not only did we hunt in the same town, we hunted
Huh.
the same farms.
Small world.
And
Yeah.
we were
Crazy.
in competition to hunt different areas.
Yeah.
So
Together
I would pull up to an area and I'd be like, oh, God
fucking
damn it, the
truck
New
again."
Hampshire guys are here already. And they'd pull up to an area and he'd be like, oh, the Mass guys are here before us. Well, now we got to go somewhere
That's not
else.
exactly what we said.
Yeah, I'm trying to make this a little bit more G-rated, but nonetheless, it's been great that now, later on in life, we've gone back and hunted those same
That's
areas
great, yeah.
together and talk about, remember when you guys had a stand
Yeah.
over there and
Yeah.
our
It's
stand
funny
was over
because
here?
we used to see these homemade stands
Yeah.
in some of the pieces that we were hunting or pushing or whatever, and I I described them to him. He's like, yeah,
Oh,
those
that's
were
nice.
ours.
I still have a
We
whole
built
trailer
those.
full of them.
He still has them.
Really?
Yeah.
They're made
that's
out
so
of
cool.
plywood and
Just
2x8s
put together
and
real
lag
quick, yeah.
screws and eye bolts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you just literally cinch it onto the tree just like a regular tree stand, but they were disposable.
Right.
If somebody
They just
stole
rot
it,
right in
Yeah.
there,
there's no
yeah.
big
Not
deal.
anymore.
Right.
That lumber's expensive.
Well, right now,
You're
$96
better off buying a
for a
stand.
sheet of plywood.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy being a carpenter.
Yeah, it's
we were
not
talking
good.
to the lumberyard yesterday. Yeah, that's
Oh,
it's just great. 4.5 times
Yeah.
the on
4.5.
KD 2x4s and 2x6s. 4.5 times from this time last year to this time.
And
So
for
in a
what?
year.
They blame it on COVID and they blame it on a
Come
bunch of shit, but it's
No.
not that. You know.
So the people that are cutting the wood, they're not seeing any of that. It's all
Right.
the mills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mills
Yeah.
and distributors, mostly mills, but you know, he told us, he said, we got a truckload of 2x4s and 2x6/8s last year,
Mhm.
same time. It was $11,500 their cost. Got the same load this year, same number, same company, same everything. $52,000.
Oh my
fucking crazy.
word.
It's crazy.
Guess who's paying for that?
Yeah.
The consumer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah.
I hate to tell you, but the prices went up. So
Yeah. He said we're doing our best to keep it down, but he's like we're paying it too.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, OSB chipboard. It used to
Yeah.
be, you know,
Yeah. And the
Garbage.
shit
it used
disintegrates
to
in
be
the
$6,
rain.
Garbage.
$8 a sheet.
Yeah.
You know, for half inch.
It's
$45 a sheet.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
No more building ice houses.
Yeah.
We're gonna buy pop up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's you know, just sharing the time and everything with people that have
Yeah.
you know, like hobbies and things
And
like
even
that.
just experiences in the woods that you may not have seen what your target animal is.
Oh.
But, you know, being out in the woods and having a squirrel run across your lap while you're sitting there trying to call in a turkey, and
Yeah.
they don't even realize what happened. They know something's not right.
Yeah,
but
that was
they're like,
squishy.
Exhilarating things like having a bear start up the tree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having a moose
That's
get,
an experience.
I had a moose get his antlers hung up in my ladder stand.
Holy
Oh, shit.
smokes.
Pretty near shook me out of the
Yeah.
damn thing. And I went
Ripped
home.
out. You could barely even probably get down there. Probably ripped the.
He actually
ladder
was,
right
it was
off.
like a spike bull.
Oh yeah.
And I was deer hunting, and I had in a digital gland scent on my boots. Well, when I put the ladder stand up, I was standing, I pulled it up, and then I was tightening it up against the tree, and well, he came in, and he started sniffing around, and next thing you know, he stuck his head behind my ladder to sniff where I was standing. About that time, a red fox come running up through because he had heard the rustling.
At the same time,
At the
imagine
same
that. Yeah.
time, spooks the moose. The moose doesn't pull his head back around; he just picks his head up. Well, his antlers got hung up in the ladder,
And then he freaks out.
and I'm archery hunting. And I literally I'm just holding on like holy crap. And he finally pulls
Hey,
his
I'm up
antlers out,
here.
kind of cling clang, and picks his head up. And it spooked him. He took off running. The fox, see the size of the damn thing. He thought he was coming to eat. He went the other direction,
Yeah.
and I sat there. Like, what the hell just
What
happened?
happened?
I went home and I told my dad, and he goes, "You get yourself into more shit."
Yeah, that's
You
so
know.
funny.
And but those are the experiences, you know, sitting
Yeah.
on a couch you ain't never gonna see.
That's
or
right.
have, or-
Yeah.
We took a kid duck hunting one time, and we're sitting on the edge of the pond, and I'm kind of in a little bit, working the duck call and stuff like that, and here's something like coming down the water line, the tree line, and it's truffling. Something's moving quick. I'm like, rat, rat. And all of a sudden, a fox comes right up to me just about and takes off. I'm like, holy crap, what was that? I'm like, thinking it was a duck sitting here on the beach, and he was going to come up over that hill and grab it. Pretty much runs into me, makes a hissing noise, and takes off. And I'm like, whoa, that was close. But yeah, exactly. It's just the things you run
It's
into in the
experience.
woods. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great.
experiences, and they're great to share with people, and they're great to have happen. And
You know,
just
I mean,
gives you
it isn't-
appreciation.
It isn't just, you know, deer hunting. It's obviously, I don't know what you fellas hunt, but
Everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Whenever we can get out in the woods
That's
and
it.
just that's it.
yeah, you know, turkey hunting is a passion.
Yeah, loving
can't
it.
wait. You know,
I know.
My wife has taken up turkey hunting.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Had never been part of it, and
She wants to slap
Now
some
she's
heads.
psyched.
well, yeah, she, you know, the first year she went, she shot a good one, like a 23-pounder, and
Holy shit. Yeah.
Jeez, that's pretty
she's
good.
like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome. You know, I signed her up for hunter safety. I didn't tell her.
Right.
I just told her. I
There
said
you're
these
going.
dates don't make any plans. She's
Yeah.
like, why? I said, well, you got hunter safety. And she's like, what?
Which sucks.
And I says, no. I said, and she goes, well, I don't. What if I? I've never. She never hunted,
Right.
and her family didn't hunt.
Yeah.
What if I don't like it? Right.
She's like, I said, it's not a bad thing to know. I said, especially in the climate that we live in now, being self-proficient isn't a bad thing.
100%.
And she's like, all right. So she went, and she's like, but all these other people, they grew up in families, and they're going to know this stuff. I said, just pay attention.
Yeah,
That's it.
all.
I said,
And not everyone.
I said, you're a student.
There's a lot of
That's
new
it.
hunters.
I said, learn
Those
what you're being
crap
taught.
load.
And she's like, okay. So I went and I sat with her through it for like the 4th time I've been through hunter safety.
I was gonna say, and
Yeah,
being
I've
a
been
guy,
there a
I
bunch of
kinda
times,
know
yeah.
all this
Yeah,
shit.
and so she, after the first day, she's like, that was really pretty cool. I learned this and I learned that.
She was into it.
And she was digging it. And so she took the test the next day, and there were 28 people or something like that in the class. She and another lady actually both got hundreds.
Oh,
Gee,
no
the only
shit.
ones that get 100s probably,
Cool.
yeah.
Awesome.
They were the only two.
Yeah.
And then when they shot, the two of them shot the best of the group. Haven't
the
really
22s,
never
yeah.
handled guns much at all.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of the end of it, you know. And then I don't know. It was the week prior to the season opener, turkey season.
She saw you probably scouting and stuff.
And she's like,
getting-
so, just out of the blue, she's like, so, you taking me turkey hunting this weekend? I'm like, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah, I can make adjustments.
Yeah.
And of course, that was the one season that I didn't have a wealth of birds already kind of
Picked out.
Picked out,
Yeah.
running
It
and
was-
gunning a little bit,
It
yeah.
was pretty slim for me that year. So we go the first 2 or 3 places, and it's just,
Nothing.
It's like,
I'm like, this is
No,
not,
usually they
yeah,
do gobble.
yeah,
I swear.
yeah.
this is not what I want.
They were
And,
here last night, I swear.
It was like the second day, and really hadn't had a lot of luck, and wasn't something I was used to.
Yeah.
And we were actually headed home early. It was like 10 o'clock. I don't usually give up until 12 o'clock.
Right.
And but I was like, this is dead. And just on a whim, I just stopped, more out of being pissed off than anything. I was
Right.
like, I'm just going to call right here.
We do that.
And I cranked out a call, and way to hell up on the side of this mountain, this turkey gobbled. I'm like, get your shit. Let's go.
We're hiking up
We're
there.
going. And she's like, what? I'm like, he's way up there. She's like, okay. We worked that bird. She shot him at about 12:45. But he'd come and go. And finally, long story short, he made the commitment.
To come down.
And she made about a 35-yard shot on him.
That is awesome.
And we went up to him, and I'm like, that's a beauty, hon. You know, that's a nice bird. He's big. And she's like, yeah, it's a big bird. I'm like, yeah, that's a big bird.
23 pounds is a
Oh, yeah.
is a
Yeah,
nice
he had like
bird,
an 8-inch
especially over
beard,
here.
real thick, but he had beard rot.
Oh,
Broke it
from
off,
the
so it was
from the
shorter.
stressing out, yeah.
He had 1 3/8 spurs.
Nice.
He's a
Inch and
beauty.
3/8
Yeah.
hooks.
Hooks.
Yeah, and
Hooks,
I'm like,
inch
that's a
and
good one.
3/8.
And so the funny thing is she's about 5'1" maybe, carrying this big bird out. You know, I got pictures and videos of it because
Pretty much touching the ground.
It was like his neck was almost on the ground.
Yeah.
And she was like, you know, and
Out for youth weekend.
yeah, from that point on, she, you know, so last year she went again. She shot another tom bird.
That is
and,
awesome.
So now she's got plans to
She's
go.
hooked for life now.
Yeah,
She's
she's
all
got
set.
plans to go this opening weekend. You know, when we start. So
She even did a little bit of her own homework and was watching YouTube when he wasn't home and
Scouting?
kind of picked up a few little things
yeah.
like
she didn't
don't-
let on to that.
Yeah,
though.
don't move the gun barrel until they go behind something, and then you can reposition. And
She's
so she
explaining
was
this
picking
to you.
up stuff that he didn't even have to teach her.
Yeah, well,
so.
she wouldn't
That's
share
great.
that with me because then that would be my
Make her,
excuse
yeah,
to
yeah,
watch
yeah,
more
yeah,
YouTube.
yeah, right, right, exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, so it's a family thing. My son, you know, he's 23, and
He's all into it.
oh yeah, he loves
Yeah.
the outdoors. You
That's
know.
what it
I
is.
mean, he's gone back to update his degree again this fall, so his
Time's
his
taken
time's
away.
going to be tight again. But you know,
You got to go through that stuff.
so
Yeah.
this spring we're gonna hunt Maine for a week. We're gonna
All day. You can hunt it all day. That's
Well,
the
see, that's
best
the thing.
part.
It's going to be very
Man.
tiring.
Yeah, that too.
I've been
Tiring
inside
hunting
this
here,
half-day
half a
shit.
day.
Yeah, half a day is just like, damn, I can't
Wait
wait.
until you're over 50.
Yeah. I can't wait. I can't wait to get home and take a nap. That's
Yeah,
what
I
it's
know.
like. Just sleeping
Well,
in the
the thing
woods all
is you
morning.
get up at 3 and you go hunt, and then you get home at noon, and the wife's like, "Oh, we're gonna do this, this, and this. We got
I
birthday
got to go
party."
roost birds.
I'm like,
Yeah.
"Holy shit, I'm tired."
Or the other argument is I always say, well, I can hunt till noon and I can get all this stuff done at the house.
Right.
and you come home and I'm just gonna hang out.
There's a nap,
Yeah.
there's food, and then we got to go roost. There ain't a lot of stuff gets done. So the first week,
Maine will definitely be beneficial. That's
yeah,
great.
the first week we're gonna hunt, local, and then the second week I'm gonna drag my camper over. And
Heck
Fun
yeah,
piece.
hold little turkey
we're
camp.
gonna- yeah,
that's the way to do
that
it.
was my plan. I
Little
said,
turkey
I want 'em-
camp.
It's gonna be a vacation. It's gonna be a turkey camp.
Yeah.
And
Cook from noon till dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stinking perfect.
Yeah, and having never hunted, all day long or
Right.
hunted near roost time, it's going to be something new for me.
Something different, right? Yeah.
I'm excited about it.
I hunted a little bit of Maine one year just to kind of dabble in it. It was a lot of people too.
Really?
One year, yeah, a couple spots, but
We've talked to a few people, and they said
it isn't bad. It depends on what area you go. Obviously,
they said you
but
don't have any problem getting permission.
That
They
yes.
said they're very welcoming, and they want you to get rid of the turkeys because they're eating all the
No,
deer
they
food.
do
Yeah.
So
No, perfect. If you guys got spots
I'm
lined
excited
up,
about it. We're gonna stay down around the Lebanon, Maine area, across from
Yeah.
Rochester.
we're right there.
And we got a buddy that lives in Rochester, so he's
got some
doing
areas
a
for
little
you.
intel for us.
Yeah. Yeah,
just to kind of help.
We both grew up right
right in Melton.
right across the river,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Salmon
And
Falls.
and yeah,
So
Heck yeah.
we know a lot of spots over
I
there.
knew
too.
some of that area. I used to coach.
Might have to be at
summer
camp.
baseball.
Yeah.
So the teams we played against were
Yeah.
in Milton
Yeah.
and down that way.
I still got
Rochester.
some spots in Lebanon, and we come over and take it a couple.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't care.
You get your license over there.
It's cheaper to buy a license
Oh,
as
it's
a
ridiculous.
non-resident
Great.
in Maine than it is
Ju-
to buy a resident
It's just
in New
like
Hampshire.
New York. It's
Yeah.
$100 and you get the sportsman package. You get almost every tag in New York
small
for
game and a bear
$100.
tag.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Maine, I think it was you
It
get
was
your bear and your deer, and then
132.
you bought your turkey tag, and I think it was like that was $120.
Yeah,
or something.
$120. Yeah, it sounds about right.
I'm like, that's short money. I pay more
yeah,
than that at home.
$176 for a hunt license. Yeah.
Exactly.
Huh?
Isn't that bad? Yeah. So
And
whatever.
the thing with Maine, I get
You're out of
See
here.
ya.
We'll see ya.
you get your bear tag with it now. You don't have to pay for it.
Right.
Oh, and 7 turkeys?
Yeah.
7? Not that
Yes.
I'd kill that many because I might not agree with that, but
Is
At
it
least-
7? I thought it was 5.
No.
Well,
so it's
certain-
5. So it's 5 in the fall,
yeah.
but it's
In
2
certain
in the,
zones.
2 in the spring.
Certain zones and then the 2 in the spring.
Yeah. So there's 7 birds for you.
But at least that's the way I understand it.
No,
Now,
that's correct.
I have no intentions of shooting 7 birds because I just think that's too many. But
It's a lot of birds.
that's a lot of
No,
birds.
that's a lot of.
And especially in the fall when you can shoot either.
Yeah.
Right?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah,
it is.
yeah.
It-
And people are doing it too.
Right.
10 people in one area and they end up shooting 5, 7
Ooh,
birds.
That's a flock.
Right.
That's a
And
flock.
if they take all hens,
Yeah,
now
that's
you've
a
got
flock.
no future birds coming
Yeah.
from the hens.
Right.
Yeah. But
I'm not a biologist, so
yeah.
they know better than me, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
exactly.
the other side of it is, I said, well, maybe some of those nice fall days when I don't have anything planned,
Go over to Maine.
run
Swing
over
over.
and put in a couple of turkey hunts or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Take a little break.
Yeah, Brett Ledoux likes to go. Do
Yeah.
you know Brett?
I'm friends with him on social media
Yeah.
and follow him, and he's been out,
Oh, yeah.
in
Yeah.
Nebraska and
Kansas,
Dakotas.
Nebraska, and the
Already
Dakotas.
killing smashing birds
Oh
already.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, So he likes to do a little bit of that. I don't know. It was one of those things. I said, well, maybe we'll get together. Of course, Carter
Yeah.
lives down that way.
Oh, yeah.
He's
Oh,
already
yeah.
there.
He isn't
Yeah.
far from us either. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, we'll get together and do some of that. So whether we get there or not doesn't matter because we're going to be there this spring.
Yeah, you're still
Right.
going to be turkey hunting.
Excellent. Good deal.
So.
We'll let you guys get out of
wanna
here.
wrap this up?
Tyler's about cold purple.
Fucking.
I can relate.
Yeah, it's cold. The
little
sun's kind of
chilly.
breaking. So
This guy
he's-
will break a sweat.
Yeah.
He even has an
Standing
extra
there,
shirt
yeah.
on. He's usually in a
Usually.
t-shirt.
I've been a little chilled today. It's a little raw.
It is raw. It's just that
It's just
because
because it's been warm for the
snow.
last. If this was like February, we'd be all in t-shirts right now. Swear to God, but because we had that warm streak and now it's getting cold
We're
again.
paying
And it
for
snows.
Well, thank you. It
Yeah.
was awesome.
Hey,
It was
Appreciate
great
it.
thanks
to
for
meet
coming
you
on,
guys.
guys.
I know we had touched base briefly.
Yeah.
But,
Love
it
meeting
was
new
just
people.
great
and
being
hearing
able to
stories.
run into
Yeah.
you,
Heck
and
yeah, it's a good time.
yeah,
We'll
I'm
do it
not.
again.
I'm not a big podcast guy because I'm not a big tech guy.
Not a lot of
I get
people
it.
are,
I
but-
get it.
but,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna start paying more attention
Yeah,
to
it's
it.
Yeah.
fun.
You know,
There's
a
a lot out there.
That's
There's
part of
there's
the
so much
problem.
information out there that it's almost. What do I click on?
And
And that's it's almost
and
like
that's part of my
especially
anxiety
going
where I'm
into
like,
it.
I don't know where I'm looking for all this stuff.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
my son laughs at me because I think Instagram's kind of silly the way some of the stuff goes. He's like, Dad, it's simple. You do this. I'm not
lost.
doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not. He's like, Dad, it's Instagram. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I barely get through the Facebook crap.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
You just poke on it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, eventually something will pop up.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's I got to start paying more
Yeah,
attention.
we'll get together again soon, whether it's turkey season, after turkey season, or we'll touch base at least.
Yeah, and if you get bored, that second week of May,
Yeah.
I'll be over there chasing.
Bored? You
It's
think?
not
May, you were bored.
Well, after
so
you're
much to
done
do
with
in
your
May.
two turkeys
Yeah.
here, then
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Well, that's the way it all works.
Yeah,
Usually you get
2
yours,
turkeys, yeah.
and then somebody else
then you
wants
gotta
to
get your
go.
buddies, then you gotta get your buddies.
It's like, what do we got? Three or four kids for youth weekend.
Yeah.
And we're trying to plan out an area where we can at least get all the kids out for that weekend.
I haven't.
But not
I-
mess up any
Yeah,
birds I've been watching.
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want
I-
to hold on to that.
That's just it. I
Yeah.
haven't done any youth since my son was
Yeah.
done.
Right.
And he's 23 now,
You're
so
right.
it's been several
ways.
years. And a kid that I work with has got a couple of kids, one 9, one 11, I think.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, you know, my son came to me and said, Dad, we got to take some kids out.
Yeah, it's a freaking
And
blast.
I'm like, yeah, we should. So I said, you keep your eyes open, I will. Well, long story short, I found somebody that had a couple of kids that wanted to go.
Yeah.
And their dad doesn't turkey hunt. So he's like, oh, yeah, I want to go and learn some of this stuff. So
You'll be crazy. Those
It's-
dads hook right up and they're like,
it's just-
really? This happens?
it's a matter of just passing the stuff on.
Right,
You
yeah.
know, I mean,
Yep.
And that's, I guess, that's the only legacy I'll ever pass along. So
Leave them with a story to bring the school and pass it around.
Right.
What? That stuff really happens? Yeah.
it does.
Get out
off
there.
The get
Yeah.
off the couch.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing now, man.
15 feet in the woods. Call that bird. No.
See, the good thing about the turkey hunting is it's active enough so you can keep a kid's interest.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Deer hunting
Yeah.
can be pretty
Right.
pretty
Yeah,
tough.
Oh, it
I've been
is.
down both roads, and we both have young kids, and it's the deer hunting at this point is like you're gonna go sit somewhere at noon, and then
And freeze your tail
yeah,
off.
Yeah.
and it's not fun. Can I go back?
It would have been better this morning, but I couldn't this morning. It's like, dang.
But yeah, all right. Well, let's get
Life.
Bell's touch base in during turkey season then.
Awesome.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.